Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 4, Episode 9, The Cosmic Ocean. Now, it's been, once again, a pretty long time since we've had a Ninja Turtles episode, but I think this was actually a pretty cool one to come back on. It actually focused on the main story, so the Turtles were going after another piece of the black hole generator. We actually got to see Dregg show up, which we haven't had for, I believe, like 7 episodes. I don't think he was, physically, there with the Turtles since the second episode of this season. He's been on the phone before and on communication devices, but he hasn't actually been in an episode, going up against the Turtles, I don't believe, since the second episode of this season. So I was very glad to see that. I was excited when Armaggon showed up again. I like him as a villain, but when he first showed up, I was like, oh, it's just going to be Armaggon again going after the Turtles because he wants his revenge because, he lost to him. And then it was like, no, he's actually still working for Dregg. Dregg, gets called in, he brings his swarm and everything, and there's a huge fight at the end of the episode against, Dregg, his army, Armaggon, the creatures, which, because this is my second time doing this review, I didn't realize it until the first time I was doing this review, that it's a play on sea monkeys. I didn't realize that at all, because I was like, oh, they're kind of like monkey sea creatures. I was like, oh, they're sea monkeys, and it finally dawned on me. But that's what they are. They're supposed to be sea monkeys. And then we have the leader, which, of course, looks like nothing like all the other creatures, which I always find pretty funny when it's like that. But she's the leader, and she's helping, the team prove, or she's letting them know at least, that they have to prove their worthiness to get the next piece of the black hole generator. And they didn't focus on Leo as much as I thought they would. And they tend to do that from time to time, where it seems like it'll be like, oh, it's really going to focus on like Raph or Leo or Mikey or something. And then it's not really that much. They'll have their moments, but it won't be like, it's really about this one turtle this time. But they definitely started off that way with Leo in the hologram chamber, and he's talking to Master Splinter, and he's worrying about being a good leader. And I thought it was actually really cool. I thought it was a good start to the episode. They actually give a little bit of explanation, and this is something I thought of before when, I believe it was 2 episodes ago, when Leo was in the chamber and he was just standing around New York City and he saw Master Splinter. And I mentioned it's probably based on their subconscious, and that's why, Master Splinter was there, and he didn't plan on him being there. It's just what he, it's a big part of his life. It's his father, and at this point, their father's dead. So I was thinking, like, it's probably based on their subconscious because, the Fugitoid never went to Earth before, so how else would the hologram just make all this stuff up? And I was like, it has to be like a psychic sort of thing, and we find out in this episode it actually is. So that was kind of cool. They gave us an answer, which, like I said, that was only 2 episodes ago, so that theory would have been answered a long time ago if that was, if it weren't for like the hiatus thing. But I like that. I thought that was a cool little bit of information. It actually does explain how, it forms all the things that it forms. It's not just like, make this, and then poof, it can make it, even though the ship's never even been there, outside of, when it landed that one time, and it's a ship, future technology, I guess. It could scan an entire city, I guess, but we find out that it's actually a psychic link, so that was pretty cool. And, like I said, it wasn't really focused on Leo, but it had its moments for sure, where he was worried about not being good enough. He was, kind of doing his typical leader thing. He was having one of his sort of down moments where he's like, I'm not too sure if I'm the greatest leader, if I can lead my brothers and, our friends to victory. And so he was really worried about that. When they lost to the creature, he was really worried about it. And of course, ultimately he doesn't sacrifice himself, but he's willing to sacrifice himself during the battle when Dregg shoots that missile just like straight out of his chest, like he's Iron Man or something. And he proves his worthiness, and they get the second piece of the black hole generator, and they only need one more. So we're fairly close to them getting the black hole generator, which is great. Sadly, with the production of the show, I don't think that'll happen for a long time for us. It'll probably only be like, 8 more episodes or something, but that probably won't be until like the end of the year, I feel like, if it, kind of keeps up with the hiatuses the way that they do, sadly. But we're only in episode 9, and I believe every season's had about 20 or so episodes, and that's kind of the biggest issue. I think this season has had like the most breaks in between, but it's kind of weird because the 3rd season also had a ton of breaks as well, and that's why we're already in season 4, because they had such a giant break. And the way that they do them now, it's like, yeah, this is the season finale, but then the next week we get the, that very next season, so it's like, well, it's still an awesome episode, but it's just the pacing is very weird. So it's hard to tell when we're gonna officially get them getting the final piece and completing the whole mission. But we have this brand new villain that finally has shown up again in an actual battle, but we haven't seen him too much. We've seen the Triceratons a couple of different times, so they're definitely getting their spotlight for sure, I'd say. And we'll see what happens with these villains, because the Triceratons technically were introduced last season, but they weren't really big bads until like the very end, and now they're like one of the main components for this season. And then we have Dregg, so we have to see what they're going to do with those characters, if they're going to pit them against each other, if they're going to team up, which I highly doubt they'll team up just because of the way the Triceratons act. And they're kind of like, we're the strongest, so we control over everything else. And I think Dregg's kind of the same way, so I doubt they'll team up, but they might end up doing sort of a, three-way war type of deal, and it's Triceratons, Dregg and his hive, and then, the team, and they're going to have a lot of people to go up against, but the enemies will kind of go against each other as well to kind of ease the tension and stress on the team. But I'm looking forward to seeing how all that stuff's supposed to play out. Of course, looking forward to seeing what happens when they get the final piece, because they mentioned that once they get all the pieces, their plan at least is to destroy the black hole generator. But Fugitoy was kind of like, yeah, I'll definitely destroy it if I figure out how to destroy it. So I don't think he's going to be able to, and I think what's going to happen is the Triceratons will get it back, and maybe they'll lock the turtles up or something, because I feel like it's supposed to be the way that it happened in the last season, where Earth does get destroyed, or at least sent through a wormhole, because technically, although it looked like it just exploded because it looked like the middle of the planet blew up, but technically it was a wormhole that sucked in the planet. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, but I think ultimately what's going to end up happening is that they're going to have it where history repeats itself, basically, and I think the turtles are going to end up doing that, and they're going to try to stop it, but I think they're going to get caught. I think they're going to get captured, everything will happen, and then it'll be like, oh, we failed. But we totally didn't fail, because this was how it's supposed to play out, and then they bring Earth back. So I think that's what's going to happen, but we also have a lot of time, I think, because we're only in episode 9. I think we have so much time for them to add in way more elements to for us to really guess how things are going to play out, because it feels like it's been a long time, because it has, but we're only in episode 9, which really sucks. But there's a lot more left, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. But like I said, enjoyed the action. The action was actually really great in this episode. I really loved the scene where Armaggon had Mikey in his mouth and he was just biting him, and that seemed to last for like a minute, because I thought he got saved, and then they did the whole thing where Leo jumped in front of the missile and everyone stopped. And I was like, oh, Armaggon was still just like chomping on Mikey like it was nothing. So that was pretty funny to me, but I liked the action in this episode. It was nice to see Dregg actually get beat up in this one and like full on lose. So that was actually kind of cool, because I think, if I remember right, the turtles actually had to take off because they couldn't beat him, because he was like, and they did that again where he has like the crazy super speed thing where he'll trip them, but they'll still be in midair, and he'll do like 3 hits and he'll knock them to the ground. So they did that again with Donnie and Leo, which I think is really cool. It makes him a stronger, cooler villain. But ultimately, it was nice to see him kind of get his butt whooped. So I enjoyed that for sure. But I'm looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully, it's soon. That's all I can say is I hope it's really soon, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it either way, but I do want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and I want to know what you guys think is going to happen. Like I said, it's super early, but I want to know what you guys think is going to happen once they do get this final piece of the black hole generator. Will they destroy it? Will everything repeat itself, and then poof, they figure out how to save the planet? What do you think is going to happen? Because they put it in there, they don't really know how to destroy it, and I don't think they will. But I want to know your speculations and what you thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.